Hey, folks, I have a very special guest on the show, someone who's been on the show before, someone who's visited me in Fresno at the hub and is just one of those go-givers. And oh, by the way, he runs a 7 and near 8-figure business. Let's welcome Jamil Damji to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Mike, what's up, brother?
Not much, man. Sorry, you got my little dog here in the view. He's a little
Hi,
unhappy.
Jimbo.
Jimbo, yeah. Hey, so Jamil, what I want to do here is I want to turn this over to you, right? Because you have some questions about 2021. You have some questions about emerging markets. I'm the buy and hold guy, and I think it's a great mesh of our story. But let me just turn it over to you and introduce yourself and take it wherever you want it to go.
Love it, love it. Hi, folks. Michael Zuber's YouTube channel and friends. My name is Jamil Damji. I am the co-founder of this company right here called Keegly, and I am also the brand face and lead instructor, top guy at Astro Flipping, which is our coaching community. And I love what you guys are doing. I love what you're doing, Michael. I love your book. I read your book. It's amazing. I believe in the power of passive income. I believe in rentals and holding rentals. Of course, let's be honest. I'm a wholesaler, so I'm allergic to holding houses. It's just where, look, I exist for you and you exist for me, right? I need guys like yourself to come and take the inventory that I'm allergic to holding.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you love passive cash flow. I love what your strategy is. It's great. I'm on the other side of that. I feed that addiction for you, right? And that's what wholesalers do. So I think 2021 is an amazing conversation piece because we've seen some unprecedented activity in the real estate market, especially through a global pandemic. It was not surprising to me to see the real estate market just explode during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. In fact, the early days of the pandemic, if you go back and look at any of my social media feeds, I was one of those, the sky is not falling guys. I was telling everybody, look, pay attention to interest rates, pay attention to these things, pay attention to inflation, pay attention to how much money we're printing right now, pay attention to assets that appreciate with inflation, pay attention to these things because this is where the money is going. Look at where private equity is sitting right now and how many homes private equity owns in America. That is a telltale sign that there is an inflationary event around the corner. We are not headed for collapse. We are not headed for a depression. We are not headed for a crash. We are headed for the opposite. We are headed for a housing crisis. I was saying that from day one, and lo and behold, I'm not calling myself a predictor, but I just paid attention to the elements. I paid attention to the precursors. I do have a degree in science. And in science, I learned in chemistry, you have to know what are the materials you're working with. And with those materials and certain conditions, you always get a result, right? And I think that we have that exact situation happening right now. We have the raw materials in our hand of low interest rates. Mm-hmm. We have low inventory. Mm-hmm. And we have an inflationary event around the corner. We are printing money like we have never seen before, right?
No question.
So that coupled with the American workforce learning that it is not necessary to be stuck in an office all day long to get your job done, coupled with high density cities becoming less and less affordable, coupled with moving into a Democrat run 4 years, coupled with all of the spending that we've had, all of the stimulus that we had, all the money we've been printing, mm-hmm. I think we're headed for some changes in activity and changes. I don't think that there's going to be depressions or crashes anywhere, but I think that emerging markets are going to be the place to go. And so I thought of you because when I was in Bakersfield, I truly saw what, in my opinion, was the epitome of what an emerging market is and looks like and how it feels and the energy that I felt in that city when I was there. I knew that there was something special going on. I knew that there was a lot of activity. I know money was flowing towards it. Mm-hmm. And so my questions now, I had a lot to say there. My questions now are, Michael, being a buy and hold investor and being one of those voices of sound reason and understanding in this space, What are you seeing for 2021 in terms of where you're putting your smart money?
Yeah, so 2021 is going to be a very good year for buy and hold real estate investors for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we're coming off perhaps the toughest year to be what I was, a full-time employee who only makes offers out of the MLS, right? That was my book, right? We built a portfolio of nearly 200 units buying out of the MLS. And 2020 was impossible. I wrote almost 250 offers on MLS-based deals and like I got like 10 counters and got no deals, right?
Wow.
Right? So if that was the year I was starting, I'm feeling pretty low. But thankfully, I've got 20 years experience. I know 2020 was an anomaly because again, what 2020 was about is um, what I call the move up buyer, right? The person who's been in their house for 10 years, maybe it was their starter home. They've been in their job, they've gotten raises, they got some equity, they're ready to move up. That buyer didn't move last year. The pandemic said, "Don't come touch my stuff. My kids are home. I don't want to move. It's too risky, blah, blah, blah." Those folks are going to come out in droves this spring. And what that means is we are going to see inventory double. And when I say inventory double, most people thought, "Oh my God, we're going to go to a seller's market." No, we're at 1 month supply in Fresno, California, and Bakersfield, and these other Central Valley markets. And what this really means is we're just going to go back to normal. But what normal will feel like a bull market because I will have options. I fully expect to get back to buying 5 to 8 properties out of the MLS because what will sell will be the FHA ready clean houses. The ones that won't sell are the ones that, you know what, we need to update the kitchen or the bath. And the ones that really won't sell are the ones that are, need a full gut remodel. And what we were really missing was a lot of that inventory in 2020, and it's going to come in 2021. So I'm very excited. In addition, we already have seen rising interest rates. One of my experts that I talk to weekly is a mortgage broker, and he's texted me twice in 6 days about the 30-year interest rate going up an eighth. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you go up an eighth twice, that's a quarter. And when you realize we were at 2.6 and now we're up 25 basis points, that's almost 10%. So I bring that up not because it's big, but because it's telling you the trend is reversed. And what will happen as it rises, because we are spending perhaps 12, 14% of GDP on top of doing that last year, we're going to see, assets go up, interest rates go up. But what's going to happen is the owner occupant, the person who crushed me in 2020, less of them will be competing with me because they always buy on payment. And if interest rates go up and prices, even if prices slow down, that's just a double whammy. Higher interest rates, slightly higher prices, double whammy, affordability could crash. So I am ecstatic about what's coming on. I'm telling everybody I know who's ever thought about real estate investing, spend January, February, and March learning, because I do think it takes 60 or 90 days to learn your market, and then get ready to rock and roll in the spring. We get this vaccine out, the weather turns better. There is no chance the American consumer is going to sit on their hands 2 years in a row. I've been watching the consumer for 20 years. I have an econ degree, an MBA. We do not save in this country. We spend. And we have seen the money supply or M2 just crash because people are saving. And oh, by the way, they can't spend. So it's a forced savings, right? Malls are closed. I have Golden State season tickets. I can't go to a game, right? I'm not getting on an airplane. It's just all this stuff we can't do. That stuff is going to change when the vaccine gets rolled out. People are going to feel better. We are generally speaking a positive people. We want things. We want bigger and better and nicer things. So I am ecstatic by what's coming as an investor. If you follow my channel, you should definitely get your first, if not your first or second deals this year. And if you can work with wholesalers by telling them exactly what you're looking for, you got the match made in heaven.
Love it. Love it. That segues me nicely into my next question, Michael. So working with wholesalers for buy and hold investors, what are you looking for? How do you form a relationship with an individual like you? What does it take to become Mike Zuber's go-to wholesaler?
Oh, that's a great question. I can tell you what doesn't work. Being one of the dozen people that actually, when you came to my office in Fresno, what I did is I threw down like an envelope full of those mailers that I get all the time. And you just started calling people, right? And like half of them didn't pick up. It was amazing, right? So the first thing I could tell you is don't call me saying, hey, I want to buy your house at 123 Street. I think that's a horrible way to start a conversation. One of the things that I'm trying to tell wholesalers is, and again, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that I hear from wholesalers all the time is it takes 8 contacts to get a deal on average. So why start with, hey, can I buy your house? Why don't you start with, hey, my name is so-and-so. I cover this area. I'm looking at this. Did you know that? Add value. Make it a value-based discussion. Because if your first word is, hey, I want to buy your house, more often than not, I just hang up on you. I don't need that.
Well, you're not really selling right now. You're
No,
buying.
I'm buying.
So it's like they came to you with the wrong question anyways.
Exactly. It's the first one. Yeah.
If the first question was, hey, I see you're a badass, you own a ton of houses, and I need to sell deals to you, and guess what? I've got inventory. Are you buying? Would that even be a better opener?
Yeah. How about even, hey, I'm just curious. 2020 was rough for a lot of people, but it was also good for others. How did it treat you? And what are you doing in 2021? Done. And then shut up. Listen. That's what I would do.
Wow, brother. That is honestly, that's life-changing information. And I wish my students were here to hear this. I'm going to need to bring you onto one of my coaching calls so that we can unpack this for the people that are part of my program, because a lot of times we get so transactional with our communication, right? Mm-hmm. It's sad. It's sad because, like, especially because we do this, 8 hours or however many hours you're on there prospecting, doing your thing. And you really just want to you want to cut to the chase. You're like, all right, show me the goods. Are you selling? Are you not selling? Are you selling? Are you not selling? And truly, that's not how humans talk. That's not how we connect with each other. That's not how we deepen relationships with each other. It is, in fact, that whole thing seems thirsty and wrong, right? We don't like to deal with folks like that. You want to be in a relationship with your wholesaler. So you're saying to me, if a wholesaler approached you like a human being and said, Michael, here has been my year experience. Tell me yours.
Exactly.
That would be a conversation you would be open to having. And then that could segue into, let me see your deals.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, it segues into either one. It could be either A, I am looking to sell because I got a couple of dogs, or I'm a frustrated landlord and I have eviction problems or whatever, who knows? Or, you know what? I'm kicking ass, got a lot of capital to deploy because I sold a bunch of apartment buildings and I need to buy some stuff for 1031, or who knows, right? You just don't know. Or, hey, I'm selling here, but buying there. Let's have a conversation. And I understand. I mean, I have 4 wonderful wholesalers at the office, at my office called the Hub in Fresno. And I try to tell them all the time, right? They don't work for me. They're not my employees, but I try to give advice. And I'm telling you, if the goal is to have 8 contacts, make the first one easy, right? Because I know that I get people reach out all the time. I'm a frustrated wholesaler. I've been doing it for 3 months and I'm making $100 a day and I'm chasing the yes answer. And I know I need 99 no's and blah, blah. And you're just in a race to get no. Well, you know what? What if you tried to build 20 relationships a day?
Right.
That's it. I mean, again, you're not going to get a sale, but just think about going home at the end of the day, or being at home and going to the kitchen table and saying, you know what, honey, I built 20 relationships today. Instead of saying, you know what, honey, 10 people hung up on me, 3 people called me an asshole, and I left 12 voicemails. Your day is going to be better. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's elevate the conversation. I sold millions of dollars in software in my career over the phone. And it doesn't start with, hey, you want to buy my shit? It doesn't start there.
Oh man, that is gold. That is gold, Michael. I couldn't agree with you more. I always preach to lead with value and to treat people like human beings, to honor the relationship. I'm not a cold caller, right? That's not my model. For anyone who knows me, that's not the wholesale model we play. We're disposition people, so we help sell deals, we move deals, and so my whole business is based off of relationships. It's based off of deepening relationships, and how the metrics that we track at my office are relationship scores. We score relationships. How deep is your relationship with this buyer? Is it a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
There you go.
5 meaning that you're being invited to the bar mitzvah.
Right. Exactly.
Right. 1 meaning you're still transactional, right? You're still very much like, hey, we doing this, we're not doing this. And that dance is delicate, and it requires finesse, and it requires time, patience, and care.
Yeah, I was hoping you're going to say that last word. It's caring. A lot of people get into the wholesaling business, in real estate in general. Buy and hold is really no different. People get into this business because they see dollar signs. They see wealth. Frankly, some of them see easy money. None of that is, I mean, it's not easy money, right? It's no such thing, right? It doesn't exist except in the movies or lottery, maybe. I promise you, you will have a better day. You will have more good days than bad, and you will build a stronger business that is around for years, if not decades. If you started with, hey, again, we're January. It's a perfect time of year. Hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up, about Fresno, California. Did you know, 3,412 homes sold. The median was this or that. I personally did 7 transactions. How was your year? And then you just shut up and listen. I think wholesalers would be better to have the goal of the first phone call to be, I can call you back. I think that would be a good measure, as opposed to counting voicemails and hangups and all those other things.
I want to unpack that a second, because I think that could be lost. What he said is the goal of the first call is to have a second.
Exactly. You need 8 contacts, right? So you can't go from 1 to 8.
You're not trying to get a contract. You're not trying to get a yes. You're not trying to get an address. You're trying to get a second call.
That's all you're trying to do.
Man, oh man, oh man. Man, oh man, oh man.
So really, that's what I would tell people, and that's how I would consult them. That's how I would train them. And that's again, I did this for years and trained $1 million sales reps. It's even when I was selling software that's just ones and zeros. It's not in my world. It wasn't even, everybody wanted to race to the demo. That's what my world was. Get them on the phone, race, close for the demo, are you kidding me? That's the first phone call. No, that's probably the 3rd or 5th phone call. What are you doing? What are you, how are you? What's going on? What are the real problems? I mean, there's so many other conversations. We built this cause, do you have that problem? Really go deep. And, you may have less demos again, but I didn't get paid on demos. I didn't get paid for how many demos I had. I got paid for how many software I sold. And, racing to the demo was a bad idea. Just like trying to race for a contract's a bad idea. You're not appreciating the process. The process needs to mature and grow, and you need to add value, and they need to respect you, and it just needs to be a whole thing, a whole dance.
Well, I think it's fitting that your book is called One Rental at a Time, because it's the process that in itself, the title of your book is the process.
Certainly for buy and hold. And again, it's interesting because again, I wrote it as buy and hold. It was, hey, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and what happened and how'd you get there? But really, it's the same for flippers. It's the same for wholesalers. It's one at a time. You may have, like if you're a real estate agent, you may have multiple escrows open, but you must treat them as individuals, right? You don't close this one and that one closes also, right? They're not sister or cousin contracts, at least most of the time. Yeah, it's just one at a time, folks. And I would tell you, don't rush it. When you rush things, when you don't appreciate it, you don't learn. The worst thing that could happen for a wholesaler or someone, in my opinion, is you have success with like the 7th phone call. You find that one unicorn deal, and then, they come out of nowhere, and then it just never happens again, right? You got to appreciate the process. And if your peers are telling you it takes 8 contacts, appreciate it. Don't rush.
Get to the second call.
Get to the second call. That is your only goal. Second call.
Unreal. So those are gems, Mike, gems. I'm learning a lot just listening to you. These are actionable things for me to talk to my people with. And thank you for that.
Sure.
My next question is, being a buy and hold investor, money has changed, right? The returns have changed. They've evolved in the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And so what is a buy and hold investor with a portfolio of 200 houses right now? Because you're so spoiled with your the returns you're getting right now from your previous purchases, right? There's nothing very little is gonna match that. So how do you now look at your metrics and your numbers and what are you buying? Like, what does the math have to be at?
Oh, that's an awesome question. And you have to subtly watch. So one of the things that I teach, preach, and talk about in the book is I've looked at my market every day for 20 years, every day, even today, every day. And I do that because what I'm always trying to figure out is what is an average deal. So for example, the best time ever to buy a deal was 2010. I think we did 20 some odd buy and hold transactions. And my average yield was north of 15%. But that was 1 year out of 20. And I have bought properties every year, including last year, which I just bought 3 or 4 wholesale deals last year and added 2 to my portfolio. So I'm still growing. So I never look back, right? I don't go, oh my God, if I can't get 15% like 2010, I'm not doing the deal. I'm always looking for average. And my sole goal, the only thing I do and the only thing I teach is learn average and then do good or great. It's kind of like Warren Buffett or like Ted Williams, whatever your analogy is, hey, if you know what average is, you only have to do these other ones because you don't have to say yes for average. And the beauty about the MLS is you can say with great certainty that 98 to 99% of the stuff are average or bad.
Right.
Right. So that means if in my market today of Fresno, it's about 6%. It actually might be going down to about 5.5%, but let's call it 6 for this phone call. That means every deal I have to do has to be north of 7%. That's all I think about. I don't go, shit, a 7% deal is half of my old 15, because then I'd never buy anything again. I am only trying to identify average. Once I know average, I can configure and do good to great. And that's why I bought nothing out of the MLS in 2020, is because yes, I could figure out deals. I could figure out average, but then bidding wars happen and I don't chase, right? I know my numbers. You get past it, I'm out. So I offered list price probably on 25 deals. But of course, in an environment with no inventory, people just kept bidding up. And, I don't play with that. The last thing I would do is take a great deal, say at 8%, overpay, and suddenly it's 4.
Right.
I'd rather keep my money. So I learn average, Jamil. Today at 6. I'll do a 7, 7.5, 8 all day long, even today, even though it's not 15.
Honest. That's so great. That's so great. So you're putting your money at, it sounds to me like you're deploying at 7 to 8. Average is 6 for Fresno, Bakersfield, that Central
Valley.
Central Valley. There are markets in the United States right now where for $75,000 in spend, you can get $1,000 in rent.
Sure.
And I see them all the time. Places like Michigan, Indiana, Oklahoma, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's good math.
Oh,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
So what keeps you in your backyard versus deploying funds into markets like that?
So a couple of answers, and this, I do not mean this to sound arrogant or prickish or anything. It's just the truth. I already can fund my daily life. I have no huge wants, needs, or desires. So I have zero interest in adding risk to my portfolio. The hardest thing to do is grow a new team, right? So if you are going to pick what I'll call an out-of-state market, you need to verify boots on the ground first, then the market, right? For example, you said Michigan earlier. Let's just pick Detroit, for example. I know nothing about Detroit, so don't crush me, YouTube world. So let's say I find a 2% deal in Detroit, which means you can buy it for 50 grand. It rents for $1,000, right? That 2% rule. Yep. That sounds great in Excel, but for all I know, it's on a gang infested street with burned out units next door or behind it, or there's a closed down factory that's leaking, I don't know anything about it, right? I don't believe Excel sheets is the first thing. But most importantly, again, I need boots on the ground. So for example, if Detroit was that number and then Huntsville, Alabama was 100 grand for $1,000, but I had my best man from my wedding there, I would go to Huntsville every time. Because what I tell people is whoever is boots on the ground, this sounds rough, but it is what I believe, is will they get on a plane and fly to your funeral? If you die, will they show up at your funeral? If not, they're just a service arm. Right? You're paying them 10% as a property manager or 6% as an agent. They're not going to tell you the truth, because the biggest thing as a buy and hold landlord, you need someone to tell you the truth about bad news. Bad news doesn't get better with age. It just never does. So for me, boots on the ground is number one. And again, people don't realize while I technically invest in the state I live in, it's 2.5 hours drive one way. So just to see one house, it takes me 5 hours. You can get to a lot of the US in that time on an airplane. So it's like investing out of state. It just happens to not cross a state line. But the real answer is I don't want to build another team. I don't have to build another team. So I find myself I'm lucky in that aspect, I guess.
Love it, love it. I have personally been looking at other emerging markets, and so part of that question was to see if I could follow where the Zoob's money was going next.
Yeah, well, that's a different question. I didn't hear that, but I think
that's the next question, Michael.
Yeah,
where's your money going next?
So if somebody put a gun to my head, or I had a time clock and I had to go back to zero and I couldn't invest in Fresno, I would be looking south, right? Red states. Like Alabama is really interesting to me. What I see out in Alabama is really interesting. Alabama, Tennessee's getting a little pricey, but
Birmingham is one of my favorite places.
Yeah, Birmingham would be the one. Birmingham 1, Huntsville 2, and they're both in Alabama. Gun to head, that's where I'd go.
And I got boots on the ground, meaning they would fly to my funeral out there.
Oh, that makes it a home run then.
Yeah.
You're very lucky. I couldn't invest there. I have some friends that I've encountered because of YouTube and Facebook and all of that, but I have nobody that would show up at my funeral. And that's it. That folks, don't write that off. You need somebody that's going to call you Sunday at 9 a.m. when you're in church and tell you, you know what, one of your tenants is selling drugs, or they parked the car on the grass or something. Your property manager is probably not going to tell you because they don't want to bother you. You need to hear the bad information.
And they don't want to give you like problems that are going to make it look like they're doing a bad job.
Exactly. Again, I can't tell you, bad information never gets better with age. Just never does.
Do you use a property management company?
Since day one, yeah.
Do you buy from your property management company?
I have. They generally don't list, but occasionally throughout the years, because they do manage now 5,000 units, they'll have a owner who wants to sell, and they look internally first. So I have. It's not a huge deal source for me, but I have.
Got it. I have students that when they get a good deal, will call a property management company to see if there be a potential buyer there.
Oh, for sure.
And so you think that's a viable strategy for them to find somebody?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things you'll know about all property managers is they have investors. That's just that, you can connect A and B.
Awesome.
It's a great idea.
If you had to start over right now with no assets, no houses, and you were able to be plopped in any market outside, even then, just where you are, where would you be? Would you stay where you are? Would you pick somewhere else?
So if I was single, I would go somewhere where the median price was sub 100 grand. Right. So let's just rewind the clock and magically I'm 20. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's pretend I'm 20, right?
I'm with you.
Yeah. Woohoo. I would probably go somewhere where I could fundamentally live on $200 to $2,500 a month and be financially free. That's going to be probably down south. Might even be Alabama, just to give Alabama again. I don't know for sure, folks. Don't blow me up. I don't know. But it might be Mississippi, it might be Louisiana. I don't know. But basically what I would want to do is I want to find a place I can live comfortably on, say, $2,500 a month. Because at 20, I know with great certainty, even starting from zero, I could be financially free by 25.
Awesome.
That would be the goal. I love talking to high school students. I've had the luxury of doing that 7 or 8 times now. And I ask them all, who could live on $2,000 a month? And they always raise their hand. They have no idea what stuff costs, right? And then what I tell them is great. If you really can live on $2,000 a month, you could be financially free by 25. Right? The real sad fact about most Americans is they are as close to financial freedom the day they leave school. Whether you're a dropout of high school graduate, college dropout, college graduate, you are as close to financial freedom the day you leave. Because after that, consumerism takes over. I just think that's sad.
Well, I would. The only thing I would disagree with you on in this entire call would be that you added college into that, because I think it's a total waste. I still have yet to find mean, I come from an East Indian background, so you can imagine what I grew up with in terms of, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a doctor. I actually, I have a physiology degree. I have a bachelor's of science in physiology. I took the path my mom and dad wanted me to take. I took the MCAT exam and didn't get into medical school, thankfully. And because of that, decided I was going to take my own destiny in my hands and be an entrepreneur. Yeah. And the rest is history. However, I was saddled with college debt, yeah, and that's difficult. You can't bankrupt that. You can't get out of it. You got to pay it. And I'm seeing so many people out there that are going on these 4-year degrees and truly, truly, truly coming out with $100,000 in debt. Their degree is in sociology, and now they, yeah, or anything else that's not a professional designation. And so I would love to get your thoughts on that. College, no college.
So first off, I'm right there with you. I think we went through a generation, and you and I are in it, where the answer was go to school, get a good job, work there forever, right? It was basically
there was an ROI then. There was an ROI on school.
Well, there was supposed to be, right? We were basically repeating what the baby boomers did, our parents, right, and it worked for them. And there's nothing wrong. What they told us to do is what they did, and what they did worked for them. No question. Gen X, where you and I fall, it kind of started falling apart, right? Because no longer was the average tenure at a job 12 to 15 years, right? I'm in the Valley. There was a time in 2000, the average tenure was 9 months, right? When .coms were popping off everywhere, everybody was changing jobs like girlfriends or boyfriends. It was crazy. But it just blew apart. So I believe if you want to be there's a few careers that require a degree: attorney, doctor, accountant, an engineer, computer scientist. If that's your passion and you want that career, you need a degree, or it's really tough to compete. Not required. It's just more difficult. If you have a passion for something, like it is in you, like you want to be an Egyptologist or something that just like you would do it without it, and you're going to go on and be a PhD, and the outcome is to either be some kind of author or teacher, and you are excited about that, go. But if your parents tell you to go get a degree and you're going to do just something that, is easy, like philosophy or sociology or music or whatever.
Business.
Yeah, whatever. Business. Again, just to get the degree to keep mom and dad happy. For most people, that's a bad answer. That's just a bad answer. In school is much more expensive. I mean, I left school and I went to junior college because I had to pay for my education. Went to junior college, didn't know what I wanted to do, spent 3 years instead of 2, finally got to my Santa Clara, my university, and I left with 40 grand in debt for 2 years. It took me a long time to pay that off. So I understand. But yeah, it's definitely breaking apart. So what I tell most people is if you're questioning college, you might want to take a break. You might want to take a year off, go figure it out. Or at least do junior college where it's a lot less punitive.
Right. Man, this has been a great chat. Any questions for me, Mike, on the state of wholesaling in 2021, or where we're kind of looking?
Yeah, I would love to hear from you. Again, I'm excited by what's coming. I'm curious, was your volume down a little bit in 2020? Like my volume was down?
Yeah, our volume was down. So, down is relative, right? So our average year is 1,000 houses. That's how many houses we'll transact on. Yeah. And so in the pandemic year, we were sub 700, which was.
Yeah. And I'd be curious if you because again, I think that's to be expected because I think a lot of people just hit the pause button.
Yeah. Well, we paused for a few months there. Like, I'd say March 10th to, May 10th, May 15th ish was really, really, I'd say at about a third volume of what we would normally do.
Yeah.
And then, mid-May, it was just bananas again. It was just houses were moving, everything was going. We, in fact, we were buying in March, April. Yeah. And so we got some killer deals in those few months because everybody was so scared. I remember. So we were able to buy at like 2015, 2016 prices, like for that small little window. So we bought everything. Again, remember I was saying I was super bullish and I didn't believe. I did have moments of, oh,
what did I do?
you might be really, really messing up here, but it worked out. It was all good. But yeah, our volume was down a little. But in addition to that, we franchised last year, so we had a little bit of focus that was directed in other places. That is awesome. I just found out actually that our goal was to sell 30 franchises in 2020 because we launched 4 months ago.
Yeah.
We hit 29. So we were very close. Our goal for 2021 was 150 franchises, and we actually sold all 150 of them just a couple of days ago.
Wow.
And so we're sold out of franchises for 2021. We're now taking deposits for 2022.
That is amazing.
So that's where we've gone with our franchise model. It's really good. For anybody that is watching your channel, if you're looking for investment property, please reach out to me or someone on my team at Keegley. We've got franchises across the country. Michael, we've got deals in Alabama, Huntsville, and Birmingham. We've got deals all over the country that really pencil out and make sense. And thanks to Michael, from our conversation today, we will learn better how to serve our buy and hold investor clients with humanity, with compassion and care, truly having your heart and your best interest in our hearts. And so that's the foundation of our business model. That's how we operate. It is based on love. It is based on care, and truly feeling as though it is our money that we are deploying. And so every purchase you make is one that we're dedicated to, and that we really take strong consideration about. So it's been fantastic.
And Jamil, where do you want him to go? Is it just Keegley.com? Is it Keegley IG? Where do you want him to go?
Yeah, so it would make most sense because of just how I man my Instagram, to just come to my Instagram. It's at JDAMJI, at JDAMJI. Again, it's at JDAMJI. Find me there and send me a DM and see if we're in your market, and we will respond and get you as many details as we can.
Very cool, Jamil. Thank you very much for all you do. It's always fun talking to you. Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself as well, brother.
Thanks, man.